Hello and welcome. Today we are going to study very important part, that is bones. Bones are also known as osteocytes. Bones are also known as osteocytes. We all have heard about the word osteo. We have heard many here. The word osteo. It's a root word for bone. So osteocyte is another name for bone. Osteocytes are further divided into two parts, osteoblasts and osteoclast. We'll discuss these terms in this video itself. So let's begin. First of all, bone. We have a general methodology in our brains that our body, the framework of our body is made up of bone. Our skeletal system is bony in nature. These are bones, bone to bones are connected, bones to muscles are connected. We move due to these bones, we eat, any action or we perform is due to this bones. So, first of all, let's study an overview about bones and its function. Then after that, we'll move on to the detail about our bone. So, let's begin. First point is that bone provide structure of our body. We know that the structural framework, our overall body's framework is provided by bone. So, it is the structural system of our body that is also known as our skeletal system. After that, coming to the number of bones, so adult human skeleton, it comprises of 206 bones. Adult human being comprises of 206 bones. If we talk about infants or children, they generally have around 300 bones. So what happens? How does the number reduces from 300 to 206? That's due to the fusion of bones. As we grow, our bones also grow and it leads to their fusion. So this fusion causes the decrease in number of these bones, which ultimately is 206. If the question is asked that what is the number of bones in an infant or child, the answer would be near about 300. Next is durable connective tissue, that it is made up of connective tissue which is durable, which is long lasting. It gets destroyed and it also gets reformed. So we call it durable. So it is a connective tissue which helps in connection of two things and it is durable in nature. And it is made up of collagen, calcium and some bone cells. We all know that our mother asks us to drink milk. Have you ever wondered why is it necessary to drink milk? Yes, to maintain the health of our bones. But how? The question arises how? Because the bones are made up of calcium and collagen. Collagen, what does collagen do? It provides rigidness to our bones and also a little bit of flexibility. And in this case of calcium provides strength to our bones. It makes our bones strong. How? We are going to study that. And some bone cells other than collagen and calcium, many other type of bone cells are present. Many other type of osteocytes are present. It can be osteoblast or it can be osteoclast. After that, bones are strong, semi-rigid and flexible. They are strong. Strong due to the presence of calcium. Okay. And semi-rigid and flexible. This is bone. I am able to fold it. I am able to move my hand. I am able to move my legs. Why? Because they are quite flexible. Here is the joint, bone. Like the first step was that it provides structure of our body. It does provide structure, but also it helps in the connection. How? Let us go through this first. There are in connective tissue we studied. One was ligament and the another was tendon. This will make things easier for you. Ligament and tendon, we studied this in connective tissue. So what's the difference between ligament and connective tissue? Ligament, bone to bone connection, joint is due to the presence of ligament. How can we remember that? What's the trick to remember? This is bone and an L-shaped structure is formed. This is, we can see it is an L-shaped structure. So it is just a simple trick to remember that ligament helps in connection of one bone to another. Bone to bone connection is due to the presence of ligament. Whereas if I talk about tendon, what does tendon do? Tendon helps in the connection of bone and muscle. We know that these are all muscles, and muscles are, how are they attached? They are attached to our bones with the help of a special connective tissue, that is tendon. So tendon helps in connection of bone and muscle. So that's the difference between ligament and tendon, and basically they provides a connection. Coming to the function of bone, let's go through it. First is that it provides body framework. I guess we have already discussed it enough that it provides our body's framework, a structural support, our skeletal system, everything. And CaPO4, calcium phosphate storage. It also helps in storing of things. Yeah, calcium is required for the bone, strength of bone, but it also helps in storage of various things. And the most important storage is calcium phosphate. Okay, why calcium phosphate is necessary? Calcium phosphate storage ensures that our body has a balance, that the calcium which our bone requires, it doesn't get exhausted, and calcium phosphate storage maintains that balance, so that calcium in our body remains balanced. Second thing is that it gives attachment to muscles and tendons. As we just discussed ligament and tendon, it clearly suggests that the bones are the primary organ that give attachment to what? Muscle and tendon, or we can also say even ligament. Okay, they allow mobility and homeostasis. First is mobility. What do you mean by mobility? Mobility refers to the movement. Movement of what? Our movement. We are able to move due to the presence of bone, right? Be it our neck, our hand, our foot, everything we are able to do because of the bones. Presence of bones, we are able to move. So it provides us mobility. Next thing, homeostasis. What do you mean by homeostasis? Homeostasis is the formation of red blood cells. We know that formation of our blood cells, where does it occur? In red bone marrow. We have discussed this in earlier classes that formation of RBC takes place in red bone marrow. And red bone marrow, where is red bone marrow? Have you ever wondered where is red bone marrow? Red bone marrow is a part of our bone. It is present inside our bone. When we will study the structure of bone, we are going to establish the link between red bone marrow and bone. Where is it present? And we know the function. Red bone marrow is performs the function of what? Formation of red blood cells. Blood cells are formed there. So that was the important functions of bone, apart then providing rigidity to our body and forming a framework. After that, when we come to structure of bone, next thing is structure of bone. I have drawn a structure of a long bone here. So there are two types of bones. One is long bone and one is short bone. Long bone, this one. Let us quickly draw the structure of small bone, which is quite easy. Then we will study both of them. Okay. Small bone is actually small, and you can make it or understand it like a sandwich or something. A sandwich has an upper layer, a middle layer and a lower layer. Now, the upper layer here in this case is called compact. Lower is called compact. Whereas the middle portion is spongy in nature. And that's all. This is your small bone. In reference to your 11th standard, we don't have to study all these things in detail. But yes, we are just doing the overview so you get a better understanding of the bigger picture, that is bone. So let's begin the structure of our bone, that is long bone. Our long bone is divided into two parts. One is diaphysis and the upper is epiphysis. I need you to understand this very clearly, that there are two parts. Our long bone is divided into two parts, diaphysis and epiphysis. So what is diaphysis and what is epiphysis? We have seen in pictures somewhere our bone looks somewhat like this, right? Now, this is the middle portion. This is the middle portion, the shaft, the long portion, whereas these are the ends. So, the middle portion or the stalk is called, or shaft is called the diaphysis. This is the diaphysis. Whereas the upper portion and the lower portion, which is wider, the both ends, as you can see, they are wider in nature. So these wider ends are called epiphysis. I guess it's clear by now that this portion is diaphysis. These both portions which form the end or the wider portion of our this shaft is called epiphysis. Okay. After that, okay, let's just quickly do this part. First is epiphysis, then this one is diaphysis. You can see here, epiphysis is connected to diaphysis. Here also epiphysis is connected to diaphysis. There will be any point of connection for both of them, be it epiphysis or diaphysis. That connection is called metaphysis. These names are quite confusing, so we have to remember diaphysis, epiphysis and metaphysis. Diaphysis is the middle shaft region, epiphysis are the wider ends, whereas metaphysis is the connection between both of them. The connection between epiphysis and diaphysis is called metaphysis. We'll do their, like what's the function of metaphysis, we'll just study it here. So let's begin with another term, that is peristem. What is peristem? Peristem is a layer which just encloses our all bone. So peristem, as you can see, I have drawn this layer. This peristem is present. See, again there are two terms, peristem and endostem. Endo refers to inside. So endostem marks a layer inside the bone, whereas peristem marks a layer outside the bone. That's very clear. Endostem marks the layer inside and peristem marks the layer outside. What we have to remember is peristem is absent at the end. It is present around the whole bone except for the end. Why? Instead of peristem, what is present? Articular cartilage is present. Instead of peristem, articular cartilage is present. Now, what is the function of articular? We can see it helps in, peristem helps in protection, endostem helps in protection. But what does articular cartilage does? It helps in like connection of one bone to another. Bones are connected, but how are they connected? Due to the presence of articular cartilage. So, articular cartilage helps in connection of one bone to another. So, I think that's quite easy. After that, one more thing. This portion, that is epiphysis, the upper and lower wider end epiphysis contains spongy bone. As we just studied it in small bone, the middle portion contains spongy bone. Similarly, in bone also, in long bone also, the epiphysis region contains spongy bones. This one and this one, where what are present? They contain the red bone marrow. So, where is red bone marrow? We know that it's in the bone, but where? In the epiphysis region, which consists of the spongy bone, the red bone marrow is present in the epiphysis region. I have drawn this dot-like structure that suggests that it is a spongy bone. Is that clear? Yeah. Next thing, we talk about diaphysis. Diaphysis is a long tubular or shaft-like structure, as you can see. So, it kind of forms a canal. Canal is also long tubular shaft-like structure. So, this diaphysis also contains this canal-like structure. This canal is called medullary canal. What? This canal-like structure is called medullary canal. A medullary canal. Now, medullary canal, what does medullary canal contain? Epiphysis contains spongy bone and it contains red bone marrow, whereas this diaphysis contains compact bone, and this canal, inside this canal is present yellow bone marrow. So it forms two important questions here. Where is red bone marrow present? Where is yellow bone marrow present? Where is spongy tissue present? And where is compact tissue present? So I hope it's clear. It's quite easy. Again, we'll go through it quickly. Diaphysis, epiphysis. Epiphysis contains spongy bone and red bone marrow. Diaphysis contains compact bone and yellow bone marrow in a tube-like structure, that is medullary canal. Other than that, a layer surrounds the bone. One is peristem, one is endostem. Endo is present inside the bone, peristem is present outside the bone except for one place, that is end of these bones. Why? Because instead of peristem, articular cartilage is present there, which helps in connection of one bone to another. Or else if bones were not connected to each other, what would happen? If two bones are not connected, then it wouldn't form any structure, it wouldn't form any framework. Other than that, what is also important function? It helps in protection of our organ. In each bone, organ is present. If I talk about our skull, bone, right, bony, in our skull, what is present? An organ, that is our brain, is present. So it helps in protection of our brain. Our rib cage, it is bony in structure. What is present in our rib cage? Lungs are present, heart is present, so many. So overall we can say that bones are very important part which form like our body framework forms. Okay, now quickly just read both of them and I guess it's quite clear. Diaphysis, tubular shaft like structure which runs between proximal and distal end of bone. This is proximal end and this is distal end. Proximal end, distal end, and it is a tubular structure which is present in between proximal and distal end. Diaphysis. Hollow region inside is medullary cavity filled with yellow bone marrow. So it is the hollow region inside it which is filled with yellow bone marrow, and what is it called? Medullary cavity. We have already discussed it enough. Walls are composed of dense and hard compact bone. So we just said that in the diaphysis, compact bones are present which are not spongy and they are quite hard. So we can say hard bone, compact bone is present in diaphysis. Medullary cavity has delicate membranous lining. This one character we didn't study here. Medullary canal, it has a soft compact lining which just provides a framework or an outer lining to it. Coming to epiphysis, it is a wider section. The wider section at both the ends is epiphysis. It is filled with spongy bone. It is filled with spongy bone which contains red bone marrow, yellow bone marrow. And each epiphysis meets diaphysis. Epiphysis meets diaphysis at this point which I said it is metaphysis. So each epiphysis meets diaphysis at metaphysis. The narrow area contain epiphyseal plate. Okay. What happens? Our bones, when we are young, we were infant, our bones keep on growing from where? From this region. The metaphysis, it ultimately converts when the bone is fully grown, it gets converted into epiphyseal plate. So it keeps on growing at like up to the age of 18 to 21. After that, our bones are fully matured, fully grown. After that, no growth takes place in most cases. So metaphysis, when the growth of the bone get completed, it gets converted into a epiphyseal plate. Now, last term, that is endostem and peristem. Peristem outer lining, endostem inner lining. So endostem, where bone growth, repair, remodeling occurs. It is the outer surface of bone is covered with fibrinous membrane. What does happen in endostem? Growth of bone takes place from here. Reparation, remodeling, breakage, reformation. Whereas from peristem, it contains blood vessels, nerves, tendon, ligament, lymphatic vein. If you have any doubt, do ask me, and I hope it was easy to understand. Thank you for watching.